Hello and welcome back to Boring Dead Gaming, where today we're going to be playing some more Vampire Therapist. I think it's time for our next session with Andy, ahead of meeting our clients, but I think we're going to learn some more CDs, whatever they're called. I can't keep cognitive distortions, that's it. Okay, Samuel, my dear, I do look forward to our chats. How are you feeling tonight?
I gotta confess, boss, I'm a little down. I love helping other vampires, but getting therapy myself sometimes ain't much fun.
I understand. Looking in the mirror is difficult for any human, much more so when they don't cast a reflection.
You ain't kidding. It just seems like there's always work to do, you know? Like my walking in the woods for 90 years wasn't nearly enough time.
I dare say you are correct. I believe that we must never cease our walking in the woods. There is no mystery deeper than that of our own existence.
Where do vampires come from anyway?
Well, Samuel, when two vampires love each other very much...
Come on, boss, that's not what I'm asking. Where do we come from?
The answer to that is much older than recorded history, my friend. But let us focus on you. We should start with some meditation and determine what thoughts are most important to you right now. Close your eyes and envision your place of comfort.
I ain't good at being a therapist. Is my hat weird?
Yeah, I think I just got to do all of these.
Ich bin Sam. Ich bin ein cool man. Election looks real bad back home. Dr. Drayne thinks I'm brain damaged. Why'd my mama have to marry that asshole? When's the sunrise?
Just got to hover over them for a few seconds.
Senora hates my guts. Sure
How's
wish
that?
you were still here, Jeb. Actors need help, that's for dang sure. Wish I had more book smarts.
Right, okay, so yes, we've got to calm that one down a bit
Really
with
scares
some
the heck
deep
out of
breathing.
me. You're an idiot, Sam, hurting all them folk. Why'd I join up with a gang in the first place?
How are you feeling now?
I'm way more centered now. I think I was actually afraid of therapy today.
Why is that, my friend? What thoughts came up?
Well, after last time, I think I was stewing a bit. Just being real angry at myself for joining that nasty cult in the first place.
They preyed on the vulnerable, as cults tend to do. If you had been a man of means with a robust support system, I doubt they would have noticed you.
Yeah, I know. And honestly, I'm mad about that too. I mean, my country did me real wrong and put me in that sorry state to begin with.
This sounds like a proverbial can of worms.
Yeah, you could definitely say that. After we talked last time, I kept thinking, what could I have done differently? And the answer amounts to horse shit. All that law-breaking I did, all that murdering and stealing and doing no good, that was my country failing me.
Okay, that seems like a control fallacy, doesn't it?
Let us slow down, Samuel. You are making a bit of a logical leap. I have great admiration and empathy for you, my friend, but it is disrespectful to those you hurt to blame anyone but yourself.
I mean, I guess I could have died. I suppose that would have been kinder. But that's a lot to ask a boy to do.
I am not suggesting that you should have died, and I do not suggest that your country was without fault. However, your country had its role, and you had yours. You are using a cognitive distortion called blaming. When we engage in blaming, we ignore or wipe away our own faults, attributing them to someone or something else.
Okay, seems fairly straightforward.
Our faults are precious, Samuel. We cannot be ourselves without them. Do not wipe them away.
I mean, I just wish things hadn't been the way they were. If my country had taken a better trail, maybe I would have turned out different.
Differently. I am sorry to interrupt, but Senora Deste might correct you less gently. Now then, perhaps it would help to put blaming into perspective. It is always humbling to see ourselves in the mirrors of our minds, is it not? Let's try some examples. See if you can tell when I am blaming. I turned into a bat the other day and flew right into a tree. Who put that tree there?
I mean, that could be it, right?
Blaming someone else, or the tree, for you being clumsy, that ain't gonna do anyone much good. I smacked into my fair share of trees back when I was a youngster, but that was definitely my fault.
Of course, there is no shame in being a novice flyer as a young vampire, but we can be insecure creatures. That's our humanity at work. I was unable to perform in bed with Crimson the other night. It must have been her fault.
I mean, that seems like blaming as well, right?
Dang, that is some blaming. Takes two to tango, boss. Maybe there's some bad blood brewing between you two, and I wish I hadn't heard about it.
Do not worry, my friend. Crimson and I bring each other great satisfaction.
All right, I get it.
I said nothing lurid, Samuel. Why are you so distressed?
Oh, singing, great satisfaction. It's like hearing your parents talking about their sex lives. I mean, not that you're. I mean, forget I said anything.
All right, Samuel, let us move on. The interface on this widely used new vampire dating app is so modern. How do they expect anyone to use this cursed thing?
I mean, that seems like it as well, right?
Come on now, boss. Not every app out there is designed too good, but we can't expect machines to run themselves. Well, that's some blaming right there.
You are correct, Samuel. It was only hypothetical, of course. I do endeavor to keep up with the times. By the way, thank you again for teaching me Control-V and Control-C the other night. What a delightful trick.
Oh, yeah. Way faster than going through the edit menu all the time.
You youngsters always find the latest tricks. Let's keep going, though. Did you see the football game the other night? My preferred team played with great skill and should have won. The referee was clearly an agent of the Dark Lord.
I mean, that seems like blaming as well.
And now hold on, Andy. I think I saw the game you're talking about, and you're just blaming the ref for your team's mistakes. You got a great tight end, but one that plays a little dirty.
Excuse me?
I didn't mean it like that. Oh, heck, I can't talk right today.
It's quite all right. Isn't getting dirty the point of play? It is the fault of the cursed sun that we must live in darkness.
Again?
The sun can't help being the sun, so don't go blaming it. The way I see it, we got our place, and that ain't nobody's fault.
Well done, Samuel. Perhaps the sun is even more brilliant in our memories, and seeing the real thing would spoil it.
Well, that's one way of thinking about it. I think I get it. I ain't trying to erase what I did. I'm just bitter that I felt like I had no choice at all. And it all goes back to the United States taking my daddy away for their manifest destiny. I'm mad at him, too. Dying for his country. What kind of nonsense is that? How'd his country pay him back? By making my poor ma marry a drunk who beat the daylights out of her and his kids? Ain't no damn wonder I turned out the way I did.
That must have been devastating, Samuel. Countries are not human. They cannot feel, and stories such as yours prove it.
I mean, what the hell, Andy? My daddy's corpse didn't... It's kind of funny when you think about it. He died fighting the British so the U.S. could say they own Missouri. Who the fuck cares? I'm telling you, Andy, the best thing about being dead is realizing how little that nationalism crap matters.
Desire for identity can create monsters worse than we. What happened after your father died?
Well, we didn't have nothing. The money was running out, so my ma got married to a hard man who drank even harder. He beat up my older brother, Jeb, for fun. And once Jeb started fighting back, dear old stepdad came for me. And that's when my brother killed him.
It sounds like a tragedy from my own country's mythology. I am sorry that such a thing happened to you, Samuel. Your brother was brave.
No kidding. We went on the run together, but he was the one who kept us alive and fed, mostly through stealing and begging. Once we stopped being cute, begging didn't work anymore, so we moved up to robbing and killing. Killed my first man at 12, and then it got a little too easy.
That is young. I cannot imagine how difficult that must have been, Samuel. My country asked me to kill at 20, and I still remember how devastating it felt.
Yeah, well, nobody told me to do it. Like you said, that was all me. I don't think anyone was surprised either. When my brother and I rode into a town, you should have seen the way people looked at us. They knew we were trouble, and we were determined as hell to prove them right.
Aha, a moment, Samuel. I believe this is an opportunity for some growth.
It's them distortions again, huh?
To err is human, as they say. Do not be discouraged. There is something in what you just said that you cannot be sure of. Can you tell me what it is?
I guess there ain't no way of knowing that people thought we were trouble.
That's right, Samuel. There is one way of knowing exactly what they were thinking, and that would be to read their minds. Thus is the cognitive distortion called mind reading. Yes, we can weigh evidence and make predictions, but never with complete certainty.
So that's what Mehdi was doing a lot of, wasn't it?
I was a dirty little thieving murderer. I don't blame him for judging me.
First, that's labeling. Second, one of those people might have been patient and gentle, one that had an experience like yours. You cannot know. With your mind reading, do you see how you made everyone your enemy?
Yeah, you're right. You're damn right.
No one expects a child to be perfectly aware of themselves and the world, Samuel. Remember, start with compassion for yourself. Here, Let us do an exercise to help you recognize mind reading. Jesus Christ would have disliked the idea of anal intercourse.
Okay.
I know that's mind reading right there. Unless you asked Jesus Christ himself and he told you, there's no way you'd know how he feels about butt sex.
Very good, Samuel. Many in my time have claimed to know the mind of Jesus Christ, and none of them have ever even met him.
You were there when he was kicking around. You ever meet him?
No, that part of the world was never really vampire-friendly. The chair you're sitting in is one of his, though. Magnificent, isn't it?
Jesus Christ made this chair?
I bought it cheaply before he became a big deal. He was certainly ahead of his time as a carpenter.
Dang. Now I feel awkward sitting in this thing.
It's more than 2,000 years old, Samuel. It is still just a chair, and it's experienced millennia of past wind. Don't worry about it. Crimson is upset with me because I forgot to take out the garbage. I know, because she told me so.
Yeah, well, that's not it.
I sent my friend Vlad an internet message, and he left it on red. He must hate me.
That's some mind reading for sure. There's no way you know what Vlad's thinking. Maybe he wasn't ready to answer, or maybe he forgot.
Excellent, Samuel. That's correct. There are endless reasons why Vlad would leave my messages on red, and only Vlad knows them.
Is that meant to say unread?
Reading too much into an internet message is a massive waste of time.
The Pony Express was a lot healthier, I think. This internet stuff makes people get real nutty.
Mortals are in more of a rush than we are, I'm afraid. Let us continue. One of the patrons of my club was having dirty thoughts about me. I know because I read his mind with my vampiric powers.
Okay, so that is literal mind reading, so that's not the cognitive distortion.
I told our bouncer, Bert, a funny joke the other day. He was quiet, but very amused.
How the heck would you know if Bert was amused by your jokes? That's clearly mind reading.
You are correct, Samuel. No one knows what Bert is thinking. I like to think he dreams of butterflies. But who can say?
I don't think he's thinking of butterflies.
Then you are mind reading, Samuel. Let Bert be Bert.
Yeah, I guess so.
I believe you now understand that mind reading may have closed the door on some opportunities for you.
I suppose. I can't really know either way, but I guess that's the point of all this. Knowing what's real and what's not.
Exactly, Samuel. So tell me, what happened to you and your brother?
You don't know already. I thought we were famous Wild West outlaws. They called us the Handsome Boys, on account of the fact that we were young and good-looking. I think we made as close to a living as possible while keeping up a life like that for some 35 years. They stopped calling us the Handsome Boys eventually. Mostly they just called us those two sumbitches. Jeb and I married a pair of sisters, even talked about settling down in some kind of fashion. I guess we got greedy, though. One last big job, as they say in the pictures. Met this fella in a saloon who'd heard of us. Went by Ernie. He said he'd help us take down the Pioneer Missouri Bank. A take of $30,000, split 3 ways. That's about $1 million in today's dollars, but that kind of money was unthinkable back when. We got the money all right, but my brother got shot in the head. Dead before he even hit the ground. I didn't know who did it. So in my rage, I killed every soul in that bank. Ernie and I ran off with that dirty money, but weren't nothing the same after that. When she heard the news, my sister-in-law was screaming so loud she scared the coyotes away. My wife left with her that night, and I didn't see either of them ever again. Not sure I wanted to. I had $15,000 and no interest in spending it. Just sat there in a sack. When Ernie invited me to join his gang, I saw no reason not to. I'm pretty sure I signed that devil's contract as soon as I started killing them folks in the bank.
I am sorry, Samuel. That is a truly horrifying story. I can hear the pain in your voice. Your brother was precious to you.
Yeah. He wasn't a good man, Andy. But he kept me safe. Without him, I knew I'd be doomed. I was certain I had no choice but to join the Mystic Bastards. Yeah, I know. Cognitive distortion.
I know you know, Samuel. A new one, but I think you can identify it on your own. What is the cognitive distortion you are displaying now?
Is it too sure of his fate? Is it just kind of, pigeonholing yourself into kind of willing something into being just by being convinced of it?
I was so sure I was right to join the Mystic Bastards. Ain't nobody could have convinced me otherwise.
Indeed, Samuel. This cognitive distortion is known as being always right. And when you are always right, your choices are limited, even if they lead to doom. We become so convinced that only we have the appropriate perspective, even in a world of infinite possibilities. One would expect immortals to be immune to this distortion after seeing their beliefs challenged over generations. But we are just as susceptible to being always right. Let's try some examples so you can identify when I am always right. I have the experience of ages. My authority cannot be questioned.
Okay, Boomer.
Excuse me?
Just something I hear the kids say when old mortal folk are acting like they're always right. The folks born after World War II are real good at destroying the world, but they assume age leads to wisdom. It ain't necessarily so.
You are always right about that. Well done, Samuel. With my multi-generational economic expertise, I am confident that market conditions will result in mass layoffs in the next quarter. I know that turning another into a vampire inevitably results in resentment.
That sounds like you're always right. I know a lot of us vampires ain't too happy with our lot in unlife, but we ain't always resentful.
That is correct, Samuel. Of course, we must be careful when choosing whom we turn and when. Choosing to live forever is not a choice casually made.
It ain't usually a choice at all.
But we will endeavor to break that cycle, my friend. We have enough clients already without having more resentful immortals running around. Let us continue. I know for a fact that vampires become misanthropic as they age. I do not need your perspective.
I mean, that sounds like it, doesn't it?
And now hold on, you ain't always right. You thinking we're gonna turn into misanthropes is limiting you from making new vampires, but that's just your thinking.
Very good, my dear Samuel. Caution is warranted when bringing a new soul into the dark, but I must consider perspectives other than my own. I have not had much good fortune with my children of darkness, but I am indeed not the only judge of character.
You got kids, Andy?
I had many dark children before I recognized the gravity inherent in doing so. I only wish more of my brethren could learn what a responsibility it is to begin the unlife of another. I know the internet is a passing fad. I have seen technology come and go, so I can trust my own expertise.
I think you're doing a little always right there, Andy. A lot of folks had unwavering confidence that the fax machine was going to stick around forever, but they weren't right neither.
Truly? I still use my fax machine. It is the preferred mode of communication among vampires here in Germany.
And Japanese businessmen, apparently.
Heck, I guess that just proves no one is always right about technology. I think I get it, boss. If I had found folks to listen to other than myself, maybe I wouldn't have joined up with Ernie's gang.
Perhaps, perhaps not. You had plenty of reasons for making the choices you made. Reflecting on them is what helps us to grow.
Yeah, I'm a lucky fellow all in all. I did some stuff with those vampires that I was pretty sure erased any humanity I had left, but I was wrong. Them transcendentalists I hold up with were ready to help me no matter how nasty I was. And I know I've done a lot of thinking on my own, but I owe them everything.
I've done a lot of thinking on my own, but I owe them everything. Is that so, Samuel? Can you point out your own distortion there?
It's my old favorite sneaking up on me, disqualifying the positive. I did plenty of work on myself.
That's right, Samuel. And why were the transcendentalists able to help you? We just went over it tonight.
I realized I wasn't always right. I was ready to start receiving help.
Excellent, Samuel. Your capacity for self-reflection, and so quickly, is truly inspiring. I almost feel as though my blood is circulating on its own.
Oh, come on, Andy. I'm just a fella.
You have earned a reprieve from disqualifying the positive, my friend. Embrace it. I believe we have had a productive session today. Let us not press matters. This is difficult work, and you are handling it wonderfully. How do you feel?
You know, I feel okay. Somehow it's better than feeling good. What happened is what happened. Some bad stuff happened to me, and none of it lasts forever. That's the nice thing about having all the time in the world.
Your trials have made you wise indeed, my dear Samuel. Now rest, my friend. You shall soon share your wisdom with your clients. I wish you a good night.
Yeah, I believe it's early coffin time for me tonight. Have a good night, Andy.
You as well, Samuel. Rest in peace.
So I think when we come to do our next round of clients, I think I'm going to try and choose all the new ones. I feel like that's probably what they're going to put some emphasis on.
Samuel, greetings. You look a bit pale. May I offer you something to drink?
I'm going to just check if we've got any more... Oh, hello. Yes. Okay, so there was like a month gap between those entries, so there wasn't just me thinking there was nothing for a little while. Let's read this. June 10th, 2024. It's been a hell of a month. I've got a full caseload of clients, I'm picking up new friends at Imanukt, and Andy says I've been doing a great job. I learned 3 more cognitive distortions tonight, and I think I'm really getting the hang of this thing. I'm also learning a lot about Crimson. There's something special about that lady. I can see why Andy's a fan of hers. Seems like she could be doing a lot more than running a bar, but maybe that's me doing some should statements. Oh, I took a little trip to Dresden. Heck of a place. They had this emperor named Augustus the Strong who spent all Germany's money on porcelain. Wish I could have been his therapist.
Yeah, you got any drinker's blood?
I know you are joking. You will not dilute your blood before a session.
Yeah, I know, you're right. I just don't know who I'm meeting tonight. Is it gonna be Dr. Drayne or that Lord Luridus fella?
You only met a single individual last time, and you will meet only a single individual this time. Do not let Dr. Drayne's avoidance of accountability confuse you.
You saw the guy, though. Lord Luridus ain't nothing like Dr. Drayne.
And why do you think that is, Samuel?
This one.
Well, maybe it's easier for Dr. Drayne to blame Lord Luridus.
Correct, Samuel. A mild change in personality would be within Dr. Drayne's control. Luridus is not, and therefore, Dr. Drayne relinquishes control. Prepare yourself, my friend. Let us find the darkness that lives within Dr. Drayne.
Okay, so like I said, I'm going to try and pick the new ones, and then we'll have a think about what stuff that he might try and do. He does do a lot of this. But then, if we're going to be talking about relinquishing control to his sort of dark side, then he might get into control fallacy stuff as well. I'm going to go with that.
All right, I think I'm as ready as I'll ever be.
Do not fear, Samuel. I shall not let Dr. Drayne hurt you, no matter what he is calling himself. Do what you do best.
I will, I promise. And here he comes, whoever he is today. Doc?
Somewhat taciturn today, then. Well, don't be upset with me. I did warn you about that beast. At least now you recognize the urgency in being rid of him. Perhaps now we can stop beating about the bush and actually fix my addiction problem.
I'm here to help, but if we're gonna lick this thing, we gotta do it honestly, and that means getting to the root of the problem.
I tire of this self-examination process. There must be something efficacious that I can do. Perhaps some sort of aversion therapy. I am willing to do whatever it takes to make that villain just go away.
Then you gotta be willing to address the big old elephant in the room.
And what is that?
It's kind of hot.
You and Lord Luridus ain't two different people. You keep talking about him like he's someone else, but you both got the same brain in there.
Complete and utter nonsense. You've met him. We share absolutely nothing in common. And what's more, I am fully aware that he hates me. Take a look at this note he left on my desk.
That's supposed to be you there with the micro penis?
Loser nerd.
Indeed. Juvenile humor, to be sure. Certainly nothing I would produce.
Ain't he got the same penis, though?
Quite so. I have no doubt he does the most terrible things with it.
So somehow he's got a different brain than you do, but the same penis. Something ain't adding up here, Doc.
I resent what you are suggesting. I have no effect on what Lord Luridus does.
Well, that seems like a control fallacy. I'm just having a look. Is it blaming? I'm going to go with control. Oh.
Dr. Drayne seems to assign himself no responsibility at all for the actions of Lord...
I resent what you are suggesting.
Hey, blaming then.
I know you're a pretty responsible fella, but you're giving Lord Luridus more credit than he deserves.
What on earth are you talking about?
You know that old stereotype mortals like to spread about us where we can't go into a place until we're invited?
A ludicrous idea with no basis in scientific truth.
Ain't you giving Lord Luridus your permission to come in and do what he does when you take that plasma stuff?
I didn't invite him in the first time. I had no idea what I had created. That his presence would become an addiction was not known to me.
Dr. Drayne, you're a scientist. Your stock and trade is in facts, ain't it? Let's leave thought out of this for now. You gotta be my scientist here and stick to what we know.
Very well. Yes. The genesis of... Lord Luridus was in the actions and choices I took. Are you quite satisfied?
Doc, we ain't here for my satisfaction. Do you really think that?
Well, the fact that I am upset right now certainly lends credence to the idea that you are trying to shame me.
Mind reading?
Let's go back to the science, Doc. Can you say with all confidence that I'm trying to shame you?
No, I cannot.
You can't read my mind, Doc. Or at least far as I know you can't. But if you could, you'd know what'd make me real satisfied is helping you out. I get that you're upset. This is tough stuff to face. But that don't make me a bad guy for talking about it. I'm here to help you face it. I won't lie to you, Doc. The people that Lord Luridus has hurt probably would have a bone to pick with you. That ain't the way to help you. In this room, we're working together. You're doing the hard work, and I'm just giving you support. Catch my drift, partner?
And so you do me even greater shame through kindness. I cannot win. Perhaps I should simply let that beast, Lord Luridus, have his way with me.
Should.
Come on now, Doc. You're jumping right to doom there. There are so many ways this therapy thing could go for you. It ain't we destroy Lord Luridus or Lord Luridus wins. Jumping right to catastrophe just ain't realistic. Already you're fighting him by being here. That means there's definitely something in the middle. And working together, we'll make things better. Maybe not completely better. This work ain't never done.
Of course, I am forgetting myself. I am not usually prone to extremes. I shall attempt to be more mindful.
I ain't expecting you to be perfect, Doc. And I don't want you to expect perfection from yourself either. What I'm asking you for is self-compassion. That ain't erasing blame. It's just approaching yourself from a place of understanding. That's a scientific method, ain't it?
I doubt many in the scientific community would agree with such a statement, but I believe I understand the thrust of it. We cannot address facts if we mask them in emotionality.
That's exactly it, Doc. I couldn't have said it better myself.
Indeed. Thus my attempt to synthesize the thought properly.
Thank the dark powers that made us. Someone in here's the smart one.
Very well. We shall take a strategic, scientifically sound approach. We will agree upon facts, develop hypotheses, test and validate. If I rely on the science, I will never be wrong.
Hold on a sec. Before we jump in, Doc, I gotta challenge you. Even science ain't gonna make it certain you're always right. The answers science gives you might not be the answers that are best for you. I just want you to keep your mind open, all right?
My mind is always open. I am a scientist.
I'm just gonna reflect that back to you and see if you think that's true. You're saying being a scientist means your mind is always, without fail, open.
Well, I suppose that sounds a bit ridiculous. Very well. I shall endeavor to ensure that my thinking is flexible.
Well, sounds good to me, compadre. Let's start assembling them facts. Can I ask you some questions then?
You may. Let us begin.
All right, so you told me that the thing that makes your plasma addicting is how good it makes you feel when you wake up from it. From your scientific perspective, what makes it feel good?
From a chemical perspective, good feelings, or positive emotions, are the result of neurotransmitter action. Considering the specific emotions felt in the immediate moment are contentment and satisfaction, it is certain that I am experiencing an oxytocin and dopamine release. It is a primal limbic response. In laboratory settings, we observe a constant drive in animals towards stimulating the release of amygdala-receptive neurotransmitters.
I think you're gonna need to boil that down for me, Doc.
I did not come here to teach, but so be it. Ask your questions.
Well, what's the
We'll work
limbic
down the
system
list.
do?
The limbic system functions as the emotional center of the brain, responsible for emotional responses such as joy, fear, and anger.
So it's like the part of my brain deciding if I should be scared of a rattlesnake or happy about a belly full of blood?
Precisely. It plays a crucial role in forming memories and making decisions based on emotional experiences. Often called the lizard brain, it's evolutionarily one of the older parts of the brain, indicating its fundamental role in regulating survival instincts.
I've been called lizard brain before, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't a compliment. What's this about neurotransmitters?
Neurotransmitters are chemical messengers that neurons use to communicate with each other. For example, social bonding reliably triggers a release of oxytocin, creating a sense of security and attachment.
So if I'm reading you right, when I'm feeling all snug after a good feed, is them oxytocin neurotransmitters doing their thing?
Exactly. This process is an integral part of our brain's reward system, encouraging behaviors that are perceived as beneficial for our survival and well-being.
So survival feels good, basically.
Yes, though I would not publish such a statement in an academic paper.
So what's all this stuff really mean in the end, Doc? Why's this neurotransmitter stuff even matter?
An intriguing question. Naturally, emotion does not have a practical evolutionary application on its own. However, these emotions signal to the reptilian brain whether or not we are under threat.
Well, dang, now I think we're getting somewhere. I think the answer's right in front of us.
Oh? And what is it that your rooting, tooting brain can synthesize that mine cannot?
You don't feel safe on your own. Taking that plasma forces you to get that neurotransmitter hit.
An intriguing theory. However, evidence stands against it. Like it or not, I am a vampire. The only thing that may threaten me is the sun or a more powerful vampire. I should not be experiencing feelings of mortal danger. I am not immortal. Logically, I should know such a thing is ridiculous.
There's them should statements again, Doc. It doesn't matter what logic says. You still got that part of your brain that says it's in danger, and that part doesn't care about logic.
An astute point, and an inconvenient one. That we should be saddled with such vestigial, primal concerns is most unfortunate.
Can't avoid the fact that we still got them human concerns. At least we don't gotta poop, huh?
Oh dear. And you are doing so well. At least I have nothing to fear from you.
It's true, though. We're still animals, partner. We gotta satisfy the animal. Just not through pooping.
But we are immortal. Why do we have animal needs, fears, and emotions? What possible use do they have?
So I don't have the right thing for this.
It is such a disappointing notion, however, to think that we cannot transcend our reptilian brain, even when we are beyond death.
We're dealing in facts, though. And I think what we're coming to is that your reptilian brain doesn't feel safe.
Which is absolutely ridiculous. But I must admit that it is somehow true. Ugh, what a devastating revelation. Dr. Drayne, for all his scientific achievement, is just an emotional little laboratory rat who bases all his decisions in fear.
I imagine that's probably labeling, but we don't have that selected.
Doc, I want to go back to one of them things I was telling you about in our first session, and that's self-compassion. Let's say you had some vampire apprentice, a scientist like you, who didn't know nothing like what you know, and said they were down on themselves for all the reasons you are. What would you say to them?
Well, I would explain that progress is non-linear. The scientific method, in fact, celebrates failure. That which does not conform to theory still informs theory.
Any chance you could put the scientist away and talk to their human side?
Well, I suppose I would say that it is fine, that all things are temporary, and the universe does not care to condemn them.
So how can we get you to say them things to yourself, Doc?
My situation is not the same. I was trained in the age of discovery. I bear the responsibility for that age.
Yes, I've still selected all the wrong things.
What if this project of mine, to create the blood that will sustain the world, is not what I am here for? Then what is my purpose?
I think next time I'll try and put a bit more thought into what I select. I just thought if I went for all the new ones, that it might kind of be structured around those, but it doesn't seem to be the case.
Well, let me ask you, what's the purpose of a gopher?
Rodentia, Geomedae. Rodents endemic to North America, known for their tunneling ability and as agricultural pests. I believe they are the prey of owls, snakes, and coyotes, and are omnivorous themselves, consuming vegetables, insects, and small mammals.
I wasn't expecting you to be so thorough. I don't think I knew half that stuff.
I have come to learn nearly everything there is to know about mammalian biology as a result of my research. Please get to the point.
I think I forgot what it was now.
That is not encouraging.
Hold on a sec, I think I've got it. Gophers have a purpose. Driving people crazy, that's what. Used to wreak havoc on the farmland back in Missouri.
Absolutely ridiculous. That is not their purpose. It's an ill-informed anthropocentric philosophy defined and subscribed to entirely by said anthropocentrists.
I didn't know bugs could do that.
Anthropocentrists, not arthropods. Humans. Homo sapiens. I am saying that you have created a purpose for the gopher that the gopher is entirely unaware of.
So, who made your purpose, Dr. Drayne?
What? Well, I did, I suppose.
So if you made it, you can change it, right?
But how can I change my purpose? I have always been a scientist. So that's what I am.
I'm not doing very well on selecting the right things here.
All right, Will. Let's take that scientific approach and try to figure out who the man behind the scientist is.
Very well. If we look at the behavior of our subject, myself, we can infer a few things. If we examine my behavior, one can draw comparison to a threatened higher-thinking mammal. I spend much time in ensuring personal safety and security.
What about your more peaceful moments? What do they look like?
I believe these feelings are only medically induced through my special plasma. However, Dr. Drayne appears to be at rest when he is full and satisfied.
And your synthetic blood doesn't do that for you.
I am forced to admit that at present, it does not.
Dr. Drayne, what do you think of drinking something a little more fresh and human?
I will not. I do not have to. That depraved vampire, Lord Luridus, is the source of all that is base and vulgar about my person.
Blaming.
Doc, you're blaming Lord Luridus for something common to all vampires, including yourself. We need blood. That's just how it is. Ain't Lord Luridus's fault. Now, I know you ain't comfortable with that need, but you can't offload everything you ain't happy with onto Lord Luridus. That just makes him worse.
You have not been listening to me at all if you believe I have absolved myself of all vampiric frailty.
I didn't say that. I'm saying you're distancing yourself from your needs by saying they're Lord Luridus's needs. Well, what if you indulge Lord Luridus once in a while? Maybe you could keep him from coming out.
Do you not understand what I have been working toward for the last 400 years? I will finally be able to transcend this thing that I am. I shall be a parasite no more.
Shall statement? Or is it probably always right? No.
It seems the doctor aims to transcend his nature. Can any do
Is it
that?
control fallacy?
Come on, Dr. Drayne. You're a scientist. You know mankind ain't got that kind of control over nature. Ain't you ever seen that movie where they bring back the dinosaurs?
That film was scientific drivel. Its simplistic understanding of DNA should have alienated its audience immediately. But then, who can guess with Americans?
It was a good story, though. And in the end, it wasn't a story about DNA. It was a story about controlling nature, which I'm sure you know ain't never worked.
Your argument does not hold weight when your source of truth is a fantasy film.
Dr. Drayne, we really got to talk about some kind of middle path here. Back home, we tried the whole abstinence thing a few times, and it didn't go too well. We tried to stop drinking, and that just made people only do bad drinking. We tried telling teenagers sex was evil, and that just made them want it even more while being ashamed of themselves. What if you just tried to do some of them things Lord Luridus does? Just don't do them the way he does.
I find the idea utterly repellent.
Yeah, but then you go and take that plasma, and Lord...
Fine.
Nope.
Fine. I'll drink some blood. But I warn you, Sam, the price of failure is most dear. If I should lose my humanity, all of humanity will lose.
Control fallacy again? He's not in charge of all that.
Doc, you really can't be putting the weight of the world on your shoulders. That ain't something you can control, compadre. Now, I know you're a capable fella, but the world is going to turn with or without you.
You think so? I can't imagine someone with my highly rational mind feeling so strongly if my prediction weren't firmly rooted in fact.
So for all mine saying that I actually selected the wrong things, I think we've actually used all of these now. Some of them a couple of times, so... yeah, maybe you can't win them all, I guess, is the conclusion there.
I know it all seems real heavy right now. Just show yourself a little compassion and patience. Beating yourself up over a future that ain't happened yet isn't going to help you. We need to go back to this thing I brought up before. You're a smart fella, Dr. Drayne, but sometimes you're forgetting vampire commonality. We've all felt like the world was ending or that we're awful monsters. But them feelings are our perceptions alone.
Yes, I'm aware. Perhaps I've been a little too human in my foibles. However, you forget my training in history. I am not an average vampire. I was trained by the great Professor William Harvey. I have had 4 centuries to unlock the secrets of animal biology. I have a duty to humanity and to my own legacy. A duty I should not fail in. Otherwise, what was it all for?
Should statement.
Hold your horses there, amigo. You say you've got a duty to humanity? Well, that ain't scientific at all. It ain't just anthropocentric. It's Dr. Drayne-centric. Nobody said you had to do anything. Remember when we first started talking, I told you about them should statements? That's what you're doing, compadre. Just remember that them shoulds are yours.
Yes, I must be frustrating to you, Sam. I invoke the same delusions over and over again.
Hey, come on, Doc. You should be proud of yourself. You know what the difference is between you and vampires who never improve themselves? You're here. You've made a commitment to getting your head on straight. And you're getting there, my friend. Already you're making some big changes and investing in yourself. I can see it. So let's cut Dr. Drayne a break. How about it, amigo? He doesn't need the weight of the world on him. There's only one thing he should do, and that's have a little understanding and empathy for himself. You get me?
Yes, I get you. Very well. I shall try to keep a clear head. And I will arrange to drink some real blood. There's plenty of it in the lab. I shall just liberate some of it.
Good man. We'll talk about how it's gone next month, all right?
Indeed. Until then, Sam, and thank you for your patience.
I ain't got nothing but time, amigo. You can thank me by being patient with yourself.
All the same, you have my thanks. I shall see you in a few weeks then. Farewell.
Well done indeed, Samuel. I think we are starting to see a new version of the good doctor in the making.
I hope you're right, boss. That fella's awful hard on himself.
That is normal, my friend. Being a vampire takes a lot of self-acceptance. He is only taking his first steps in discovering this.
Yeah, fair enough. It took other people forgiving me for me to forgive myself.
And now you pass on this gift of compassion to Dr. Drayne. Now, Samuel, the evening is still young. See what the night has to offer downstairs.
That sounds good, Andy.
Rest in peace, my friend.
Interesting. Yeah, so there was clearly, I mean, there was at least 3 or 4 statements I couldn't challenge because I didn't have the right cognitive distortion selected.
I always come out of the
But we used all the ones we did.
Dumber than ever.
Select. What we got written down here? Probably session 3 with Dr. Drayne. Great session with the Doctor tonight. Sometimes his being a big old nerd can be a real help. He's looking at his problem more rationally now. He likes to blame Lord Luridus for his more animal needs. That is, he denies his own needs and Luridus fulfills them. Has a lot of his identity tied up in being a rational scientist. Wants to transcend being a vampire. Must drink real blood. I encourage the Doctor to drink some real blood. I think his head ain't clear because he's starving. I think he gets that it's a biology thing. Okay.
I'll check in with Crimson. She's always got some bartender's wisdom to share. Howdy, Crimson. Looks like a nice crowd tonight.
They're always a nice crowd, cowboy. We like to maintain an asshole-free zone.
I'll try not to be an asshole then.
I'm not worried about you, cowboy. You had a session tonight, didn't you?
Yeah, with the doctor fella. We had a hard talk about what being a vampire means. He's having a hard time coming to terms with it, even after 400 years.
I can understand that. I've stopped aging for the last 20 years and don't know how I feel about it yet. How do you think it went with him?
Pretty well, I think.
I think we're finally getting somewhere, actually. It's funny, a lot of vampires forget they're human, but he keeps forgetting he's a vampire. But just like we can't opt out of being human, we can't opt out of being vampires either.
Must have been a hard talk, cowboy. I sometimes wonder what I am. Staying the same age, drinking Andy's blood to live. Don't get me wrong, I like not being dead, but I still feel like I'm living on borrowed time.
Is this a good time to ask why you don't just join the dark side? It ain't that bad being dead.
I'm just not sure what I'd do with forever, you know? Eternity's a long time.
Yeah, I think a lot of us vampires can't answer that question either. And I don't think there's one answer anyway.
There you go. So I guess I'll keep putting off the question.
But nobody's rushing you, Crimson.
You think I'd let anyone? But thanks for listening, cowboy. Now why don't you go mingle? There's a new fella in the kink room who's very interested to meet you.
I guess I'll go be social then. Thanks, Crimson. Wait a sec.
Hello? That's, Reinhard, is it?
Greetings, my child.
Keep your distance, amigo. I know our kind ain't had good history, but I ain't in the mood for an
I guess
exorcism or
not,
nothing.
but he dressed up like a priest.
Ah, my child of the dark. If I were to exorcise you, nothing would be left when I was done.
Is that Matthew Mercer again?
Only the good Lord is free of sin. We are all children of darkness.
Holy smokes, what Bible have you been reading?
I know my scripture, my son. However, I am by scripture and dark metal ordained, not by any church of man.
So, you're some kind of freelance priest?
Yes, I suppose I am. It is the only way I can give succor to those who need it most.
So I gotta ask, seeing as we're in a kink room, what kind of sucker are we talking about?
I follow in the path of the Lord. I share my body, and I share my blood.
Ain't this a little blasphemous for your kind?
To whom, my child? God is in everything, including you, sweet vampire. Can God blaspheme against himself? I merely wish to give comfort to those who live in darkness, and so I choose to live in darkness with them. Come, my son, I shall give succor to you.
Well, all right. Maybe if you stop calling it that.
Thou shalt not want, my son. Are you comforted?
Yeah, I guess I am.
I know those of my faith have hunted your kind. Perhaps we fear our own sin, so we seek the sins of others. I seek only the Lord in everything, as do we all, whether we know it or not.
You ain't wrong, I suppose. Hey, a little awkward, but what's your name, fella?
I am Kieran. It means little dark one.
Does it?
The night always did call to me.
Well, Kieran, I'm Sam, and I appreciate the blood, but I'm gonna turn in. A little sleepy now.
Go with God, my child of the night.
Oh, yeah, I'll do that.
So it's going to be Signora d'Este next, isn't it?
A fine evening to you, Samuel. Are you ready for
we go.
tonight's session with Signora d'Este?
And we will do, but we'll do that next time. So it just remains for me to say thank you very much for watching this episode of Vampire Therapist. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, if you could hit that thumbs up button, that's always appreciated. As would be, leave me a comment. Let me know what you thought about some of the stuff we saw in tonight's episode. Any of the, the character stuff or the, sort of the therapy stuff. Always very interested to hear any discussion along those lines. And if you're watching this and haven't yet subscribed to the channel, it would be amazing if you could do that. So thanks very much, and I hope to see you next time. Bye for now.